Rejects Journal
is a video. We're gonna do an unboxing and a review of the first episode of Watchmen. Recently, a man named Phil, most people don't say their contact's name. I do.
Yeah.
We're different.
Watch your back, Phil.
Watch your back, we know where you live. Working in correspondence with HBO, they said that they wanted to send us over a package to unbox. Now we had two choices. We could have done this before the episode came out, the season premiere, or watch the first episode and then unbox it. So we decided to go with the latter here. If you don't care for the unboxing part, you can skip ahead to the review portion. If you do want to see what's in this box, we have no idea what's in there. They gave us no heads up at all of what's going to be in this box.
They said it's something neat and pretty special.
Let's check it out.
Stab that tape.
Rorschach's unboxing. Rorschach's vlog channel. Rorschach's styrofoam.
Right here.
Oh.
Whoa, we can't. All right, John, here's what we're gonna tip this upside down.
Tip this upside down. I'm gonna hold this, scoot it out, just splorp it out of the can there. Oh yeah. We got a blood drip.
Blood drip. The Watchmen.
We got a
classic
Watchmen
sign. Yeah.
So far, so Watchmen.
Okay, we opened the box.
Ooh. Real Rejects. Oh, it says our name.
Custom put Real Rejects. Whoa, look at that.
Ooh. It's a little acorn.
It's heavy. That's a heavy
It's
acorn.
probably like a
Ow.
I
You guys
heard
hear
that. Ow. It's pointy on the bottom too.
Whoa.
Oh, snap a kiss.
Oh, look, traditional seal.
Ooh, sealing wax. We probably got a letter from Adrian or Vite. It's time.
It's time. Catch the series premiere, which is already out on HBO.
Oh, whoops.
Thought it was a custom letter. I think they wanted us to unbox this before the show came out. Okay, what do we got here? What do we got here?
For the fires.
Oh.
We can protect our breathing.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's cool looking. Yeah. Get it around your ears. Yes, up. That's the ideal way to wear this. Perfect. You want some help there?
Rorschach's fire mask. Rorschach's breathing.
Yeah, you look like Sub-Zero a little bit. I'm gonna grab this thing. I don't know what it is, but it's got a little squiddy, and it's a swatch, so I'm gonna guess that this is some kind of timepiece. Ooh. Who wears a watch of the Watchmen? One of us. Swatch. You can't see it because of the reflections in the lights, but looky here. Tick tock. Tick tock.
TikTok.
TikTok. In reference
to the Kesha song, TikTok.
Kesha.
Wake up in the morning feeling like the world's
You
ending.
beat me to a joke. This way you could say TikTok like the white supremacist characters in the
Oh yeah,
the
definitely.
Watchmen
Yeah, you can. Oh! Look out!
Wow.
Who wears the Watchmen?
Large sweater, John. I'm the large.
You're the large. That means I'm the guy who needs to keep better track of time.
Yes. You can have the watch.
Thanks!
Oh,
Put it on for
sweet.
the review so I can keep track that we're not talking for too long. I would love if this was just a doomsday watch, though, counting down to the end of the world and not just the hours of the day.
Rorschach sweater. It's warm in Los Angeles today, but I'm still cold. The world will look up and shout, "What time is it?" And I will whisper, "TikTok, time to get a watch."
I look like Regina King's sister Knight right here.
Dude, and I look like I've got a cool watch. Look like a Watchmen fan.
Wow. I don't have a sweater.
I don't have a face mask that looks like that one. Can I try it on now? It's been
Yeah.
on your face.
I licked it a lot.
Oh yeah, it's wet.
Thank you, Phil, and
Phil.
folks
Thanks.
over at HBO for sending this over to us.
Thanks to the home box office.
This is gonna be great for thumbnail goodies. Hey, let's get that thumbnail pose
Get that thumbnail pose.
out of the way. Where's the box? Thank you guys for sending it over. On to the show.
Yeah.
What a shitty show this is.
I hated every
I
minute.
hated every second of this show. Don't watch it, but make sure to buy yourself some Watchmen merch.
That's right.
I had my hesitations towards this show
I
because
think everyone in the world.
you know, I watched an interview with Alan Moore, actually just a couple weeks ago, where he was talking about he doesn't watch the movies, and I think like the way how people have interpreted how he's talked about that has been like he's like infuriated. I hate these things, but really it's just a choice because it sounds like more like he doesn't want to influence his brain and he wrote it for a specific medium. He just doesn't care for it, but it's not like this huge disdain or hatred necessarily. At least that's how it was. It was like a 30-minute interview I watched with the guy, and that's just how he came across to me. I feel like it's kind of important to acknowledge that because he had nothing to do with this show. I know that he was upset about the fact that DC has taken his characters and made prequels. I know that was upsetting to him. It's also important to note that this show, most of the Watchmen movie is faithful in terms of plot points towards the graphic novel, but they changed certain things in the ending of the movie. In the graphic novel, Ozymandias teleports like a giant squid monster thing to unite the globe.
Common enemy to break us away from our petty squabbles.
Trans-dimensional being. But in the movie, turned into...
It's just
Dr. Manhattan
takes the credit,
Exactly. And I think it's kind of important to know because there's a whole thing that happens with... There's going to be spoilers here. There's going to be...
The episode's out.
There's a whole thing that happens with where it's like raining squids at one point, and I feel like if you don't remember the comic, you're gonna be like, what? I don't get it.
Well, and we're reading some fan responses. There are people like, they're throwing in random stuff like squid rain, and I was like, well, no, actually, it kind of pertains. I don't know what they're gonna do with it yet, but
as far as the show itself goes, I thought there was gonna be some type of prelude to explain the events of the Watchmen comic, because that takes place in an alternate version of the 80s, and I thought there was gonna be some type of explanation. They don't do any of that with it, which kind of threw me for a loop, actually. Because I was like, okay, I really got to remember what I read like 10 years ago.
At least for context and for the themes that they're going for, because I think it's really interesting what they've done here, and Damon Lindelof at least has talked at length about why he decided to do this now after several offers and Alan Moore and all that. But I think that it is interesting that you don't necessarily have to have seen Watchmen, the movie, or read the graphic novel to completely enjoy what is being presented here. I think you should if you really want the complete experience. But I think as a dramatic piece, it is intriguing, it does draw you in, and it has these themes that are based on tensions in the world now. So I feel like there's relevant stuff you can get out of it, and cool details you can...
It's an alternate version of present day. It focuses in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
It's like, what if the it's the same universe as the graphic novel, just progressed up until now.
Yeah, so you got some weird rule things to it. The law enforcement all wear masks now, which I thought was a neat touch to it. Their interrogation processes are rather unique. There's a white supremacist cult on the rise, which follows in the footsteps of Rorschach. I did not read audience reactions to this, but I did notice on Rotten Tomatoes that it had a really high critic score and extremely low audience score, which immediately told me one thing. There must be a lot of political, perhaps SJW things in there, right? That's what I suspected. I'm like, that just must be what it is. That tends to happen with these projects.
Anytime you broach on political relevance, you're SJWing us, and you should get it out of my entertainment.
Now, I think it's important to note, Watchmen, in and of itself, is very political. It's extremely political. Yes. You just have to read the graphic novel to get that sense. Even watch the movie. The movie clearly
it's got
clearly
some
political
ideas
the
on
Vietnam War, so much of cutting to Nixon, nuclear terror, all these things, and then society, all the perspectives
unrest
there,
and class differences, and
So this doesn't exactly feel like the comic to me. But I think in terms of a continuation cutting to 20, 30 years later, I think it works on its own. I think an appreciation for the graphic novel, but taking this on its own merits, I really do think it works. Tonally, stylistically, I think there are people who have been very upset with how is Rorschach an influence for a white supremacist calling?
Because he's the coolest character.
Because he's the coolest. He's like the one that's like Batman. He's like loner and he's awesome.
Alan Moore has talked about its influences to be extremely alt-right. Character
kind of a fascist character.
Definitely. Honestly, like the first time I saw Rorschach in like the movies and the comics, I was that guy. I was like, oh, he's so cool. He's Rorschach.
But you think about what he's there to represent more than just what he is as an individual.
He's anti-communist. He's anti-liberal.
He's a nationalist. He's got a lot of right-wing
ideals. Even the diary that he submits it to, the New Frontiersman, at the end of the Watchmen graphic novel, is a right-wing conspiracy thing. So literally, if you're going to update this for modern day and then reflect the landscape landscape of today. To me, it's not far-fetched, and I also don't think it's quite literal. This is how this cult has interpreted Rorschach's journal, and taken it to, and it's like, I don't think this is what Rorschach wanted, but it makes sense to me how the interpretation landed this way.
And I think part of the point of Watchmen, if you really get down to it, is that all these different people with these, personas that are out here trying to do their version of justice in the world all come from very different backgrounds with very different points of view. And it's begging the question that what if you don't just have a guy with absolute power and an absolute interest in good? I read some of the fan reactions and it seemed like there were kind of three camps. It was either this is a really cool HBO show and I'm open to it, or this is not my Watchmen, screw this, or what is this? It's too slow, it's too political, I don't get it, it's not, fun or action or whatever. There's a lot here that people probably haven't read about in the inception of the show. It's like if you don't keep up with movie news. In watching it, my worries were kind of at least assuaged enough to make me curious to continue it, because it does seem like now is a decent time and place to revisit these themes through this scope. Superheroes are as big as they've ever been, and this shows, what if we had these vigilante personas in a world where, police violence is where it is now, and they're interacting, and there's, racial tensions on the rise. Like, there's a lot you can apply to now.
I just gotta completely disagree with the whole thing of it being political heavy-handed, being a problem, because I'm like, no, the whole point with Watchmen, it was a reflection of the time when the con came out, an alternate version of that time, but it was also a commentary and a satire of sorts on that time.
If you wanted your cool superhero show, it's not.
And I'm like, and so to do the modern day version, I'm like, well, they're essentially doing the direction of kind of what Alan Moore did with that time and putting it today. A, I'm okay with that, and then B, with the way the plot of the show actually unfolds, I think it's really cool. It's got kind of this ominous tone. It's very mysterious for a show that has so much rules and world building. They're not heavily reliant at all on expositional dialogue. Something you really got to pay attention to. While there's a lot of things thematically that it's exploring, especially within this first episode of dealing with racism, I still think that they managed to keep it very human and character driven, especially with the characters of Don Johnson and Regina King. Now, Regina King, I think, is phenomenal performer. Awesome. I think she's great in the show, and I think she's a total badass. And awesome, I like the SJW role reversal. I like
her hubby stays at home.
Her hubby stays. Yeah, exactly. And he's so supportive.
What a cuck!
And every moment he's
what a soy boy.
There are times where there's a moment towards the end of the episode though, where she goes into the bed and gets the shotgun, and then hands him a gun. Like, I need you to shoot anyone who comes on the porch. And he's just like, they're far like he's just unconditionally supportive no matter what. Like no. The thing is, like, there's no fear at all in his performance.
Yeah.
To me, that's where it kind of crosses a little bit of a line in terms of she is full blown vigilante character. I don't feel any fear for this human being when she's in charge.
Okay.
She still seems like on the super heroic side.
She's
of things.
Gonna make it out.
Yeah, I'd be surprised the show kills her off. That's like the one little complaint for the very humanizing portrayal of these, because you don't have your crazy sci-fi characters like Dr. Manhattan, at least not yet.
Not yet. There's a shot.
Its attention to detail and the rules are really cool. Like something as little as for the cops to access their guns, they need permission.
Yeah,
and how that becomes a big part of the plot is allowing the cops to just use their guns without having to require permission.
Yeah, and it creates this interesting vibe where it's extrapolating on both Watchmen and our time now, because the masks, the permission for the weapons and stuff, it seems like regulations that could very well go into place now, or in a not too distant future. I think this is going to be something interesting to watch. I like that they're not overly explaining things. I like when a show will allow you to kind of pick up the world as you go. I thought they drew the mysteries enough that I wanted to keep watching them. I really liked a lot of the character development, a lot of the different hero personas, especially Looking Glass. The whole interrogation scene I thought was really interesting. I just thought this was a solid pilot. Not every pilot is solid, and I thought the performers were all good. It got me intrigued. This felt grounded in a way where I'm like, I'm curious to watch this continue more than I'm worried. I feel like this could actually manage to be smart, engaging, thrilling. I just think people are going to have to decide whether they want to be patient about that.
Don Johnson's character, I was really bummed. Like, he gets killed in the end. I had a point when I was watching this show thinking, it's so cool that Don Johnson finally had his own show. Like I had this thought, like there's a big show too. And so Don Johnson deserves a big show, and then he's killed off in the first episode, which is a real bummer.
Yeah, it's a striking moment. But yes, it is a bummer. You're like, oh.
And I felt like he was such a big part of this first episode.
It's a big presence.
Yeah, like he's pretty much treated like one of the main like him and Regina King are the main characters.
Well, and he's the chief of the police department here, so like that's a big shot fired.
So I'm curious to see how the remaining episodes will unfold.
And a lot of unrest, I predict.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a definite reason they started with the Black Wall Street riots and stuff like that. You know?
Yeah, and the guy in the wheelchair too.
Who's like one of the few survivors of that.
And he had the note when Don Johnson's being hung.
Yeah, watch over this boy.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. He might be the boy. That's just like the best guess I have.
I feel like that's probably what they're implying.
Yeah. Overall, though, I did think it was a really good show. There's nothing really I didn't like about it. I think that the music is also wonderful.
Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
You know, when you said Trent Reznor especially, I'm like, yeah. Here.
When I read that, I was like, oh, okay, yeah. I didn't like name it in my head.
But not every shot is composed like it is super stylish. But when they decide to do that, I think it's great.
Yeah, I thought they had I liked the direction too. I thought it was thoughtful. They knew when to be stylized. They knew when to pick an angle that's interesting but not too in your face and stick with it for a while.
And I think for its pacing, they're slowly fleshing out this world and show. I don't think you're meant to understand everything right away. I think a lot of it is meant to intrigue you. It's meant to raise questions. Like everything with Ozymandias is kind of like, all right,
yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah,
who are these servants? Did he build them?
Yeah.
Did he create these humans? Like, what is this? Yeah,
it is a show that seems like it begs you to go back and pick up details. Not that it is heavily laced with like cheeky Easter eggs, but I think there are a lot of nuances that they're gonna throw at you that aren't necessarily gonna be in your face. And I feel like it is a show, hopefully, that will give you back more on repeat. Again, I feel like for this medium, it behooves you to be open. You know, it's like every episode has to give you enough that you want to continue, but I feel like it is good to be open to mystery in a place like this. A pilot isn't supposed to give you all the answers.
Sure.
It's supposed to raise questions.
All right, guys. Well, did you guys see the first episode of Watchmen? Leave your comments down below. You guys can subscribe to The Real Rejects, click that notification bell, and thank you again for sending over these awesome goodies.